Hey, gang, I'm going to take a few minutes and talk to you about the closing disclosure. This is what you're going to receive about 3 days, 4 days before you're actually going to close on your property. And this is very similar to an LE, a loan estimate. And if you watch my other videos, that's what you've been receiving once you had the contract signed and your loan officer has been giving you updates about the progress. And I'll go into some detail about some of the items that were on your loan estimate may have changed throughout the process, but this one, the closing disclosure, these are the final numbers that you're going to understand, learn about, and what you're going to take to the bank to wire into the title company. Okay, so I'll explain that. So obviously this is a little dated from 2013, but still they still follow the guidelines here. So obviously up the top here, it's the date, who the borrowers are, who the lender is. It's a conventional mortgage and it's for 30 years and it's fixed. So right here, and these you should be very familiar at this point. This is the loan amount, not your purchase price. Your sales price is right there, but this is what you're going to have your mortgage on. Your interest rate and the principal and interest, not taxes and insurance. I'll get into that later. This does have a prepayment penalty. Most of the time I see this as a no, but keep an eye on that. And this is not a balloon payment. It's a 30-year fixed. Okay. So for projected payments, they have it broken up into two columns. And the reason being is after 7 years, the assumption is you'll have enough equity in your house that you won't be paying for mortgage insurance. So that's why it's blank from year 8 on. Okay. So your principal and interest, your mortgage insurance, and this was one of those things that me as a loan officer, I was estimating this when I gave you your loan estimate. But once a contract was signed, you were shopping for mortgage insurance. So this is the monthly fee for your mortgage insurance. And then the estimated escrow, which would be your property taxes and your home insurance, and the home insurance, again, being one of the things that you shop for. So the total amount is $1,050. Now, be careful about this because down below, we've got a monthly fee of $356. Well, what does that include? If you look over here, it counts your taxes and insurance. And obviously there's an X mark there. So obviously we've got homeowners association dues. So you're probably asking, well, why isn't it included up here? Homeowners association, that is a separate business than the lender. Okay. They don't control the HOA fee. So you're going to pay a separate check for the HOA. Okay. So we've got an estimate of closing cost of $97.12, but you're going to have to bring, this amount, to the closing table, cash to close. And let me backtrack. You're not going to bring this to the closing table. You're going to go to your bank about a day before closing and wire it into the title company or where the closing is going to be. Could be a law firm. Okay. So the next page, we go into a little detail. And before I get into that, I want to make sure we're all on the same page. Right here, section A, these are about the only things, or they are the only things that the loan officer, the bank, or the broker has any play into this. Okay, each business has their own way of charging, for the processing of your loan to get this to the final table. But all the other fees we're going to talk about later, they are third-party companies that are part of the real estate transaction and they need to get paid. But we as a loan officer have no control over that. Okay, so in this case, the person paid a quarter point. You may see 1 point, 2 points, whatever it may be. Some places have an application fee and then there's an underwriting fee. Now you might also see origination fee, processing fee, something else right around there. But in this case, it looks to be about $1,800 is what this person paid for the origination. Okay. The next is the appraisal. Now that was, in this case, the seller paid for it. Some areas of the country, the buyers pay for it, or the buyer may want to use that as negotiating when they present the offer. You can talk to your, real estate agent about that. Obviously, it's too late at this point, but sometimes it's in the buyer's column. And then we've got a credit report. Now, in this example, the person paid ahead of time, so they're going to get a credit for that. Now, credits now go, I'm in 2023 now, expect to see about $60 or $70 in that area. Okay, then you've got some flood determination fees and what have you. You could see other taxes down here. Again, it depends on your jurisdiction, but that total is 236. Now we get down to, there's a pest inspection. Some loans don't require it. I know a VA does. Some FHA loans do. So keep that in mind. You could also see some other inspections here as well. A survey. This is getting to the title company. What I tell people with title, think of it as a car. When you buy a used car, you want to make sure it's got a clean title. You don't want to find out down the road that it was in a flood, but you received a clear title. So that's what the title company is doing. They're doing a search not only on the property, but they're also making sure that there's no mechanics liens on it. Okay, there's been cases I've come across where there's been a divorce, there's no quit claim deed filed, and the ex still has some ownership of that. And so that creates a mess. So again, this is what the title company is doing to make sure that when you sign, the property is yours. Okay, so in this case, it was $26.55. And so the total of these three costs is $46.94, but that credit for the credit report. So that number right there, keep that in mind, $46.64. Okay, now moving on to recording and transfers. These vary by state. So it just all depends on your jurisdiction. Could be a county in there, could be a city tax, a state tax. Just keep that in mind. And then we got prepaids. So these are the things that you went around shopping for. So be prepared. Homeowners insurance. Now, it could depend on the state, the lender, and the timing of when you're closing on the loan. But most times you're going to have to pay 1 year up front. Plus, you're going to have to pay a couple months in reserves. Okay. And the same with the property taxes. See, we've got 6 months, but then down here, they also want 2 more months in reserves. Okay. So keep that in mind. And then right there, prepaid interest. They want to make sure that you're paying the interest on the loan up until the beginning of the next month. And then that's when your monthly payments will stay whole for the next 30 years. Okay. Then we already talked about that in reserves. So in this example, looks like they had to pay, a contribution to the HOA, and then there's a processing fee that they charged. Again, this is all on the HOA. I have seen problems here where HOAs are slow to get your lender documents. So hopefully you didn't run into that problem, but that seems to be a stumbling block sometimes. Home inspection to these engineers. There's also, if there's manufactured properties, there's foundation inspections and what have you. So you could see those fees here. Or sometimes the home inspectors, they want their money up front and you would not see it here, okay? Then the other transactions, it looks like the seller paid the real estate transactions and there was a home warranty thrown in here. And it looks like the last of the title owners policy is down there. So you got $5,000 there. Okay, so when you group it all together, you got the 5,000 plus the $46.94 minus that credit, so it's a $96.82 down there. Okay, and then moving on. So this would be an example. Remember, I said when you first signed the contract, you were given within like 3 days a loan estimate. This is what we were thinking you're going to have to bring cash at close, but it's actually $14,000. And this is not uncommon for things to change, $1,000 to $2,000. Like I said, some of the items are, I guesstimate, on the property taxes and home insurance, but it also has means what day we're closing on. Sometimes if it gets bumped a day or two or a week, whatever, if your closing date changes, that has something to do with it. Maybe title fees get changed. So again, keep that in mind when you first start receiving your LEs, your loan estimates. And then here on this side is the borrower's transaction. And This 189 is the total of the columns below. Okay, so we've got that 9682 we spoke of in the previous page, and there's $80 here, which reduced to get you up to the end of the month, and that's your 189. And we had a $10,000 deposit. The loan amount was 162. The seller gave a credit. It looks like there's a rebate from the title company. There was some city county taxes in there as well. So you're taking the 189 minus 175, and that's what's coming up to your 14,000. So again, this is the cash to close. This is what you're going to take to the title company or to the bank to wire into the title company, or where the closing is going to take place, which could be, again, like I said, a law firm or what have you. And I can't stress this enough. Make sure when you get your email to go to the title company, look for red flags. This is a very big area of fraud. So if you see an email saying the title company changed addresses, please wire it into this account, that's a red flag. Get with your loan officer right away. They should be able to offer a three-way call with the title company. The bottom line is, when you're at the bank, you want to call the title company and make sure that you're speaking to the person that's at that title company and verify the account number to wire it into and the amount. Okay. And if you have any reservations, get with your loan officer to make sure that that's accurate. Okay. So hopefully this explains the closing disclosure. And like I said, it's also kind of a loan estimate as well. And you're better educated for when you get to the closing table. Okay, folks, if you have any questions, hit me up and I'll be glad to answer any questions. Thanks.